There is a saying, those who know all will forgive all. I think it's a French proverb. I think that phrase characterizes the nature of the wisdom and compassion. Those who know all is wisdom will forgive them is compassion. Point I'm getting related to that expression was that discussion Mihoko Okamura-san had with Daisetz Suzuki. And she was a secretary for the 15 years of Daisetz's life, toward the end of his life. And one point, she mentioned to Daisetsu that this world is a very dangerous place. Whatever the circumstance at the time, I asked Okamura-san later, but she didn't remember. When she said that the world is dangerous, Daisetsu felt emotional, became emotional, even with tears. She mentioned that, and then he said, if you understand that, I can die at peace. Okamura-san came from New York when he met Daisetsu, and Daisetsu lived her family house for a while and decided to come to Japan. She was born in the US, even went to the concentration camp. And finding something in Daisetsu, actually the setting is such that Okamura-san attended the seminar in Columbia University when Daisetsu came. And that was the time when Daisetsu was explaining what Zen is. And I think she was perhaps 15 years old or something like that, and impressed, and then started to visit Daisetsu, and Daisetsu mentioned various things of Buddhism. There are lots of stories to go with it, but if I can pick one of them, he had Okamura-san's hand and told her, this is Buddha's hand. And she wouldn't know what it means. I was sure about it. But something of that nature and the mysterious comment like that, Okamura-san got impressed and started to know more about Zen Buddhism. She had that intuition that Daisetsu had something. And one other story I just remember was when she was in the concentration camp, she was learning the dance, Japanese dance. And there's a spiritual element of it. And she was explaining to me that when she was dancing and pointing some direction with the eyes beyond the tree or whatever, and the instructor told her that you don't have the spirit in that expression. It's a difficult thing to characterize or explain, but you have to have your whole mind and body in the act of dancing. And the act of dancing can relate to the act of living, but there is that connection. Maybe she felt something in Daisetsu and was curious, therefore she came with Daisetsu and spent the time. They have, 40, 50 years of age difference, but she was helping Daisetsu, also in English, I'm sure, and traveled many places around the world. So her experience is very profound by itself. But going back to the topic that I was in, which is about the world, dangerous, and the compassion and wisdom. What I was going through is few more examples about how people live in different parts of the world, different parts of the setting. And one example I could think about is nothing racial, but the Jewish people, their orientation to survival. I thought about it. I have good friends from Jewish community, and I felt that they are eager to survive, given the background of what Jewish people had gone through. And that made me to be very keen, intuitive, and contribute to the world by bringing in various ways of science to the culture and more. And that I believe is related to the karma, the background. And so that's one example. I was thinking of other example of my friend, the Spanish friend who visited Africa, and as a tourist, he went to Congo or someplace like that, and they stay overnight, and then he saw a couple of kids selling pineapple. So he bought, and it was good. So he then talked to the kids, why don't you bring some more? We'll pay you more. And the kid says, no, I'm not interested. It's probably almost opposite of the Jewish story I just thought about. But in the kids' case, and the culture they've got, it's not eager to survive in the sense of making money and all of that. But they're peaceful and be with nature, and they don't need to look for more money. So my friend told them, if you pick up more pineapples, you can study, learn language, words, spelling, whatever. But kids don't get it as much as I'm sure parents. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm assuming that the environment is so different. So that's another example. Something like that, many examples. When I had this awakening in 2000 and came to some understanding or my resolution of what the message was, thy will be done is the main message. I'm not going to go into detail, but with that, I wanted to go explore the world and how I may be able to relate to with more people and see how I can practice if I did learn some skills of Zen or spiritual pursuit with the idea of thy will be done, which is kind of like Myokonin and Ancient Buddhism I talked about. The human has limitations, so you let go yourself and depend on or give yourself for Amida Buddha. They say Namo Amida Buddha, so that means you let go of yourself for the vow of Amida Buddha who saved them. So it's the thy will, Amida's will take care. And I use the term, Amida is almost equivalent, if not exactly, the law of nature, or law of the universe that prevails. That's the infinite wisdom and compassion. So my exploration after that awakening and visiting different parts of the world, and also me finding the dangers that Okamura-san talked about in the world. Not a good experience, but the learning experience. And I was surprised that Daisetz had that idea, that if Okamura-san understood that this world is a dangerous place, that would give him a piece of his mind, that if she understands that, Daisetz can die at peace. So, my life, reflecting back, I would say the first 50 years I was doing fairly good, with little troubles of losing some money in the stock market or something. But as I explore further to check my awakening and my intuitive sense of how to live, I still find that the world is a dangerous place. And as I look back my life and look what's going on in the world, there are lots of dangers everywhere. That's one. The other thing I realized is that there are so many various ways of living, depending upon their background, karma, meaning the habitual pattern they develop over time that would influence their way of thinking and live their life. Actually, let me tell the story of a pool guy who I got acquainted, and we spent 15 years or so. He came, visited to cleaning up the pool and stuff like that. And he was a guy not so exploratory, but very conservative and inward. Introvert is the word, I guess. And I thought about him one day. The thinking is that he didn't want to get into a relationship with women, but he was very nice looking, but he was afraid. So I could picture at maybe 45 or 50 years old, he may be alone because I heard him move in with his mother. All I'm saying with this, whatever, 10-15 minutes talk is that there are various people living in various parts of the world in a various fashion. And we cannot know all. One explanation of this world is that the world can be dangerous, as Daisetz mentioned to Okamura-san. But at the same time, as I thought about this pool guy, Steve is his name, he must be doing fairly good because he doesn't explore too much and somehow find a way. So as much as those tribemen in Africa or any person, any part of the world, each may develop their own way of finding their life given the setting. In my case, I was exploratory in various ways. There may be more people like myself. So one of the insight, I think, if I can call it insight, is that situation of mini community. Each community, the background and whatever they've got, have their own way of living. So you explore the world and go through the boundaries. And the boundary gets shrinking in the world now. We have more of those interactions. Some are very difficult because of the habitual patterns and the karma developed in the past. But by knowing the danger, we may be able to navigate our life. But also knowing the difference and coming up with the wisdom, we may be able to find a way into the future. One quick addition about this mini community is the community of the family. And within the family, there's a culture. Within the family, there's individual. Within the individual, there's that mini me, mini family, mini community. In there is the brain or the mind and body. There are various entities within, mini entity, if you call them, and they may fight against each other and conflicting ideas. So this setting of the community, mini community, I use the word mini me or mini company, or you can extend to the mini universe, is how the organization, society, all of that is relating to each other with barriers and also more global understanding that is to be developed. Therefore, there's a continuous evolution that can take place. If I summarize what I said, is that there are varieties of way of living, different parts of the world, different community, mini community, family, individual, and experience. And there are dangers that you face. There's something beyond the danger that we can overcome and connect with each other with wisdom and compassion. So, going back to the phrase, those who know all would forgive all, or Christ saying, forgive them for they do not know what they are doing. There's a profound wisdom and compassion that may be operating in this whole universe, whether it's identifiable or not. But that may be the portion or important part of the law of universe that we may have. We are the element with some boundaries, limited mind, and biased to a degree by certain karma background. But if we know that, more about that setting and how we may navigate the life individually and collectively in mini community and the larger community, that may be or would be the way how we may go through the difficulties and go beyond. Each entity has its own ego and way of thinking, but over that constraint, we can find a way. But don't overdo things and to realize there's a danger in our life, but not to be too confined and have a way, or perhaps a middle way, to navigate your life. That seemed to be one of the key points that I wanted to share with this video. Thank you.